Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
And beer.
and Water. Because that's what I'm drinking today. It's
Me too.
water.
So, H2O.
I'm Bill, and this is my lovely co-host Sandra with the kitty cat ears on the headphones.
Yes.
And we got a thing. I mean, this is the second binge that the show has done. The first one was the Canada binge, which was supposed to only be 4 cases, with the final one being a 3-part series on Willie Pickton. It wound up being 6 episodes with a 4-part on Willie Pickton. It also wound up getting an interview with a survivor of the cult that we covered during the Canada binge. But so all in all, the Canada binge became literally 10 episodes total. But the Canada binge was planned. This binge we find ourselves in is now it's in Wisconsin. So I'm just going to call this binge the Wisconsin Cheese Binge.
I do love cheese.
It started off, with a 1-part episode on Steven Zellick, aka Mr. Handcuffs, the suitcase murders. Then we covered Joe Clark, the Bonebreaker killer, and it just kind of happened this way. And then I found this story, which also happened to take place in Wisconsin, and it was just pure coincidence. I saw the story; it looked interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, this is in Wisconsin. So I decided we were going to do another binge, and this would be the 3rd episode, and then the 4th one. You're going to have to wait to see which one that is, because I'm being secretive. But yeah, just keep in mind how I finished out the Canada binge, and you might get a clue.
Check out the cheese state.
So this episode is the murder of Jessie Blodgett. She was 19 years old and a sophomore at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and she was offered a scholarship for her music education. She was a very gifted musician. She was and a songwriter, not to mention a singer. She played violin, the guitar, piano, and she was just an amazing singer and songwriter.
What is it about these musicians and art? I mean, Swango played the clarinet, right?
Yeah, what are you saying?
And got a scholarship, right?
Yeah. If you're going where I think you're going, I never got offered a scholarship.
Well, you got to be good. So,
you wound me, madam.
I take it back.
No, you don't.
True, but...
Well, while she was attending college, she even started her own little side hustle, teaching piano and singing. And she had gotten 26 students after only 2 months just working out of her house. And she wanted to become a college professor or a high school concert choir director as a career. And she was going to do it. There was no doubt about it. I mean, she was a winner. She was also an advocate against bullying and against violence against women. But on July 15th, 2013, the Hartford Police Department was dispatched to her home. Jessie was found unresponsive and pronounced dead at the scene, and police deemed the house a crime scene. The night before, Jessie had returned home after playing the fiddler in a Fiddler on the Roof play. She, of course, nailed it, and the cast went out for a cast party after the performance. According to her father, Buck, she had gotten home late that night, and her parents figured out that they just figured that she was sleeping in after a late night out. And we're going to do more. I'm going to cover more on details on as we get further into the story. I'm just kind of setting up the story right now, but I have never seen Fiddler on the Roof.
Really, I've seen some of it. Honestly, I like a lot of musicals, but Fiddler on the Roof is one of those that I've never watched from beginning to end, and I know some of the songs from it, I think.
I'm sure I've heard some of the songs, but just don't realize it.
Chimney?
Is that from Fiddler on the Roof?
Is it? Chim Chimney? Or
No, that's
not
not.
Edelweiss. Edelweiss isn't from Fiddler on the Roof, is it?
No, I don't know. But
Or Sunrise, Sunset. I don't know. I'm getting all my musicals mixed up. I'm sure that one of those songs is from Fiddler on the Roof.
I think the last musical I watched was
Oh wait, Chim Chimney is Mary Poppins. Am I
yeah,
crazy?
I knew it wasn't Fiddler,
Okay,
but
there's roofs and chimneys and shit in Mary Poppins. Okay, yeah, people. I'm also a Disney fan. Don't you know what? It's Sunday. I was up very late last night.
one of the the Ben Kissel, who used to be on last podcast on the left, whenever he would say the word chimney, he would always pronounce it chimney. He used to always
Chimney.
yeah, it's like he's like, yeah, they what Santa Claus coming down the chimney or whatever. But
Well,
when he
he does
left
come down a chimney.
the chimney, when he left the show, I posted on their social media. It's like, I'm gonna miss the chimneys.
See, now it's gonna drive me nuts. I gotta see what song is Sunrise, Sunset from? Let's see. Aha, I was right. Sunrise, Sunset is from Fiddler on the Roof.
Hmm.
And then let's see, what is Edelweiss from? Edelweiss. I thought that was from maybe that's just a song. I don't know. I thought it was Sound of Music.
Hmm.
Wow. So yes, but yes, Sunrise, Sunset is from the musical Fiddler on the Roof. So I did get one correct out of three.
Okay. Thanks. But
I digress.
Jesse, excuse me. Jesse had been raped and strangled to death. And this is a heartbreaking story of ultimate betrayal, and it'll make you wonder about those closest to you.
So she wasn't the killer.
No.
See, that's good. I mean, unfortunately, we have another music major, but at least she wasn't the murderer.
Yeah, no, she was the victim here.
Ah,
But sources, there's a lot of them. American Monster Documentary, Season 1, Episode 4, Sing for the Camera. Fox 6 Now, Milwaukee. GM Today, which is Greater Milwaukee, not General Motors. Why would General Motors be doing a story about a murder?
I don't know. Did it happen in a GM?
No. That's Greater Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.com, Reddit, and the loveisgreaterthanhate.com, and put a knife in that. That's the first time that there's ever been a knife put in a source, and you'll see that why later. In high school, Jesse and 4 other kids were the stars in the concert choir, which the concert choir was only the best of the best. And the concert of their senior year was the biggest point of their lives at that point. And their crew was Jesse, a guy named Dan Bartelt, and 3 others. Dan and Jesse were really close because they were a lot alike. They were both gifted performers, talented musicians, super intelligent. They also like to debate each other back and forth and challenge each other's intelligence. They dated briefly in high school, but it didn't last long. But they remained good friends afterwards. But she would frequently write and record songs with Dan, but Dan had a girlfriend, had gotten a new girlfriend named Allison once college had started. He appeared to be all about Allison once they got together, but put a knife in that.
Okay. The plot thickens.
Dan also had a punk band called the Angry Pillows. And
like that. That's pretty awesome.
It's a great name, isn't it?
That is a great name. Oh my God. That's perfect. Okay, anyway, continue.
Unlike a lot of these local bands that get covered on true crime podcasts, this band was really good. And Dan was the lead guitarist and the lead singer and the primary songwriter. Dan was also the big man on campus in high school, and he knew it, and he flaunted it. And still, Dan and Jessie were BFFs. After high school, Dan and Allison left to go to another college in Wisconsin. Jessie went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and there she auditioned for the gifted music course that I mentioned earlier, which she absolutely nailed. Of course she did, because she was awesome. But in her freshman year, she was working as a waitress when all of a sudden Dan walked into the restaurant. And he had dropped out of college saying that it wasn't for him. He had moved in with his parents and got a job at a factory. A straight A student, a wizard of a musician, just dropped everything and bolted.
That's weird. Yeah.
Something is afoot. So put a knife in that too.
There's a lot of knives.
Lots of knives in this episode. There's more.
You're gonna need a whole cutting board. or what is it? A knife block? That's what you're gonna need.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's like I'm running out of knives.
Oh no, we're down to the cheese spreader. And we're in Wisconsin too, so we should be down to the cheese spreader.
Good one. I have one of those. July 12th, 2013. 21-year-old Melissa Etzler was walking her dog at a park in Richfield, Wisconsin. She was on her way back to the car to get some water for the dog when she was attacked from behind. And she fought this piece of shit and was even able to disarm him. And she took the knife from him. And when that happened, the man who attacked her asked her, "Okay, can I go now?" And she said, "Hell no, I'm going to call the police." But he bolted to his vehicle and hauled ass.
So the dog was no help.
It was probably a little toy dog, a little yapper.
Those dogs are vicious.
They are vicious. They are vicious, but if one attacks you and everything, it's not going to do it's not going to do the same type of damage that a pit bull or a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd or whatever would do.
No, but I mean that's yeah. I have two dogs. One dog is very sweet, a corgi. He'd be like, "Come on in and murder my family," But the Australian Shepherd is an asshole, or an osshole, as we call him.
Asshole.
and he is Cujo with new people. He needs to be introduced very slowly to new people. So I do know that nobody's coming in this house without our Australian Shepherd telling them why they should not come in this house.
Well, years ago, I was cleaning. I was a carpet cleaner, and I had this Oriental rug that I was delivering back to this woman's house, and I go in, I unwrap it, and I lay it back down. I happen to look, and on the patio, there's these two dogs. There's a Cocker Spaniel and there's an Akita, and the Akita's raising hell, barking, but I noticed the Akita's wagging his tail. Mm-hmm. I used to have a roommate that, a long time ago that had an Akita, so I know how quirky and weird that they are. I know how to because that dog, when I first moved in, that dog hated me, but I warmed up. Within a week, the dog had warmed up to me, and before too long, I was taking it for walks and stuff. I could talk for an hour about all the little inside things that that I had with that dog. Just little games and stuff like that were just us. Yeah. And the dog was smart enough to know it was just me, that his own owner wouldn't do it, because they're very smart dogs. But I'm like, let him in. Like, oh, he's Akita. Akitas are really mean. I said, let him in. I said, I know about Akitas. So I sat down on the couch, and she cautiously let the dogs in. She's like, I don't know about this. And the dog runs up to me. It's like practically in my lap. I'm petting it. The dog's like licking my face and all that stuff. The Cocker Spaniel's trying to get some loving too, and the Akita would just run the Cocker Spaniel off. and the woman's jaw is just on the floor. She's like, "Can I record you with this dog and send it to my husband?" I'm like, "Sure, go ahead." So she records about 30 seconds of this dog just acting like a puppy all over me, just loving on me. And she sends it to her husband, and her husband, you know, messaged her back like almost immediately. And he's like, what the fuck?
It really is. I mean, I don't know why our Australian Shepherd is the way he is. I mean, we've had him since he was a puppy. He's just reactive, but he's not like that in public if he's off leash. Like if we take him to a dog park, he's just like, "Hey, hi, everybody. Anybody can touch me. I'm cool. Yay." Or the groomers or something. He's fine. Like he doesn't have a problem, but I guess he's just territorial, but there are some men he will not accept. I have a friend that comes over and we've tried to introduce him to the dog, and there have been times when he's pet him and it seems okay, and then our dog's like, "No, I hate you." Like there's no rhyme or reason to it either. I don't know what his problem is. It must be a smell, a scent, something. High testosterone, maybe. I have no idea. He just does not like certain men. Women, he warms up to quickly. So it's kind of a pain in the ass if we have to leave, because we have a very limited amount of people that can come over and watch him. So we have to introduce new people to him. But he's a very sweet dog if he likes you and he knows you.
He'll probably like me. Most dogs do. I've only had one dog that didn't like me, and that dog found out that dog had been like badly abused by a man. So, and that's understandable. But
yeah, eventually, probably. He just needs to be warmed up. Our secret weapon is Reese's Pieces, which actually do not have chocolate in them. People think they do, but they're peanut butter. They're just peanut butter candies.
Yeah. I knew that.
So, yeah, I know. But a lot of people, when I say I give them Reese's Pieces, they're like, "Aren't there chocolate in them?" I'm like,
I
"No."
See. Yeah.
I'm like, "No, there's no chocolate in Reese's Pieces." I'm like, "It's just peanut butter." So those are the secret weapon. We give those to everybody that's new to give to Boba is his name, Boba Fett.
Nice.
Yes.
Boba
The
Fett.
corgi. Yes, the corgi is Jabba the Mutt. So
Nice.
you can tell what kind of people we are, but but I digress.
Big time. But Melissa was still injured. She had deep cuts on her legs and on her hands, so she drove to the hospital where she filed a police report. A few days later, she went back to the scene of the attack and reenacted it with police officers. And she said that it was an 18 to 22-year-old man driving a blue minivan. And she said that she didn't think that she'd be able to give a good enough description of the guy. Attacks by strangers in that town were rare, but she was convinced that she didn't know the guy, although she was able to pick him out of a lineup later on. The guy didn't even disguise himself, which made the police think that he had actually planned on abducting Melissa and killing her, so that, no witnesses.
Oh yeah, I mean, if he doesn't care, go ahead, look at me. Take a good long look. It's going to be the last thing you see.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But usually the attack went out and everybody freaked out and everything. And, the night at the attack, the Angry Pillows had put together a reunion show.
It's sad. I love that band name so much.
So do I. Dan and Jessie began writing songs together again. During one session, Dan tried to steal a kiss from her, and she got pissed and pushed him off. Dan apologized, and then he started hanging out with Allison again, although Allison had planned to return to college after the summer. But, unlike Dan, who was a dropout. Police were trying to figure out who did this, but there are no tips. No tip, not one tip at all. Nobody had seen anything, but finally, in the attack on Melissa, a deputy, when finding out about the blue Dodge Caravan, he remembered seeing one in that same park several times. just kind of sitting there, and he ran a plate on it. And this was like 2 weeks prior to the attack on Melissa. Another thing that Dan was really good at was writing, and he had been working on a novel called Red is Red since high school, pulling from his own life as source material. There was a character in there named Jessica and another one named Dee, and put a knife in that.
How many knives are we up to now? 4?
4 or 5.
4 knives? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm running out of I'm running out of like RAM to process all these knives to come back to.
There were no knives in the Bonebreaker episode. I just edited and put that one together last night. There's not one knife in that episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Making up for it
Making
now.
up for it. Jessie had just gotten the role for Fiddler in the Roof, and this is her first stage role as like an actress or what, and she was pumped. And they performed 3 times that weekend, and of course she absolutely nailed it. The final performance that Sunday was the best one, and they had that cast party afterwards. She got home about 1 a.m., and her mother, Joy, had waited up for her, and Jessie told her about her night. Everything was great, but there was this older man in his late 40s who was kind of creeping on her and even pulled her onto his lap at one point. But, yeah, that was over and done with, and she admonished him, and that was the end of that. But go ahead and say it.
Are we going to put a knife in that?
Yep. Lots of knives in this episode.
Oh. Yeah, so we got the lap, we got the girlfriend, we got the okay, I have officially forgotten about 20 of the 25 knives or whatever.
8 a.m. July 15th, Buck left for work. 8:15 a.m., Jessie's mother, Joy, she left for work, and Jessie was still asleep. Right after she left, somebody else pulled up, and the man broke into the house, attacked Jessie in her bed, tied her up, raped her, and strangled her to death. Joy came home at 12:30 for lunch, and Jessie was still asleep as far as she knew. And yeah, she would have let her keep sleeping, but a piano student had showed up for a lesson at that same time. So she went in to wake Jessie up. You got to go to work, girl. Get out of bed. And that's when she found Jessie on her stomach, and she rolled her over. She was cold and blue. She called 911, and police and EMS were sent out. And Joy said that there appeared to be strangulation marks on her neck, and Jessie was pronounced dead at the scene, and Joy obviously completely lost it. Jessie definitely has strangulation marks and marks from the ropes and from duct tape, but the killer had taken everything with him. But
so he didn't like put her in a suitcase and leave everything in the.
No. What he did was actually even more stupid.
Oh.
So put a knife in that. That was an unscripted knife.
All right, I'm going to stop saying things that are going to need knives in them.
What's the matter with knives?
Nothing's wrong with knives when I remember them all.
I mean, that little thing that I put together. I mean, I who knew that Wisconsin had a knife sticking out of it?
Okay, so all right, everyone, keep up with these knives. See, yeah, I almost feel like we need to run a contest. Like, if you can remember all these knives from memory, so you get a prize.
Yeah. No, but then they would just listen to the episode and just write it down every time there was one.
But then they'd listen to the episode. See, this is my genius working here.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, everything had been taken, but they do know what the marks from those things look like. Um, but later that evening, once word had gotten out to Jesse's friends, um, they had showed up to offer condolences to the family. And that same day, police got the name of the people that the blue caravan that had been seen in the park before Melissa's attack was registered to. It was registered to Melvin and Laura Bartelt. Dan Bartelt's parents.
Hmm. Oh, did Dan come and give his condolences? That would have been pretty sick. Mm.
Hold on.
Oh
No,
God, should I put a knife in that too?
no,
Oh God.
no. Unless you're going to put one in Dan specifically. But yeah, that didn't really reveal anything. I mean, none of the Bartelts were on the police radars at all for anything, not even a traffic ticket or anything like that. But it was a van matching Lisa's description, and it was in the same place as an attack that had happened 2 weeks later. But it was a lead that had to be followed. So they went to the address and they told the Bartelts why they were there. And, Melvin obviously didn't fit the profile of the suspect, who was said to be 18 to 20 years old. But they had a son who did, Dan. And guess where he was?
Hmm. Oh, I don't know. Go ahead, tell me where Dan was. I'm waiting with bated breath.
He was at Jessie's house mourning with her parents and friends.
Ah,
He even
I was
hugged.
right.
He even hugged Jessie's mother.
Oh, I, that poor woman.
Yeah,
What was it? Joy was her name?
yeah.
Um,
And while Dan was there, he got a phone call. It was a detective who asked him to come to the police department to talk about an incident, and he said that he would. And the detective asked, just where are you right now? And he's like, I'm at the Blodgett vigil. And that made the detective's spidey senses go off big time. but they put that in their back pocket and they focus on Melissa's attack. Well, another they had two different crews working. One was working on Melissa's attack. The other was interviewing everybody that knew Jessie. So Jessie had no enemies.
that's yeah.
No,
Why would she? She seemed
yeah,
like a nice person,
yeah,
teacher, student,
all around
musician.
awesome. Yeah. And by the way, in none of my research did it say that she had a smile that lit up her room.
Ah,
So that's a
that, that's good.
yeah.
I've always said, at my funeral, I don't want people to say I had a smile that lit up a room. I want them to be truthful, but I also said that what I'd really like is to have the embalmers make me look like something out of The Ring, or something like that, so that when people go by the casket, they go, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I want people to be so horrified, because then they might be a little bit happy that I'm dead, because maybe they thought that I was in extreme pain or something. So I want to be like, oh, thank God she's dead. I don't want people to walk by and say she looks so good. I'm like, no, I'm dead. I don't want to look good. I want to look good and dead. So, just that. And I also said that I want to be put into a super sealed casket, possibly in a mausoleum, and no release of gas. I want to explode. Bonus points if I can blow like the plaque off the mausoleum or something like that. Yes, that's how I want to go. So have this be known. This is like my living will here. I want to explode.
It's on record.
No one can deny that I have said that these are my final wishes.
Like if I know that I'm on my way out, like I've got like an hour or so, I'm going to be dead. Just swallow about 5 or 6 bullets from a 22, and then have them cremate me. Pop, pop, pop.
Yes. See, I don't want to be cremated because I want someone from the future to be able to find me. I wouldn't mind being in a museum. People say, oh, it's so disrespectful to the dead. And I'm like, nah, prop me up, stuff me with something, make a macabre decoration. If I was one of those corpses that was found like in a haunted house and they didn't know I was actually a corpse, they thought I was like a prop, I would be happy. I think that would be great. So, also go on record, it's fine. Use my corpse as a prop, entertain your friends. It's okay.
Oh boy.
But I digress.
Nobody had any clue who could have done this to her. And the old creeper was taken in after Joy had relayed that information to police. But he had a rock-solid alibi and was cleared as a suspect, although he requested that his name be left out of it because he was a married man and he didn't want his wife finding out that he had been hitting on a 19-year-old girl.
Oh. Mm. Yikes.
He's a creep,
Yikes.
but he's not a murderer that we know of.
I'll admit to being a creep.
Don't tell anybody. I thought about digging for the guy's name, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Not do that.
But back to Dan's interview. The interview began, and he said that he drove his parents' caravan, which, when asked what kind of vehicle he drove, he wouldn't make eye contact, and the detectives were, just kind of looking at his arms for bruises and cuts. There was this huge gash on his elbow, big enough to be clearly seen on the camera from the footage. I mean, you could definitely see there's a big gash on his elbow. They asked him what happened. He said, I don't know. I fell, probably. I'm sorry, but that big of a gash, especially on the elbow, I'm going to remember how the hell I got it, especially because when you have an elbow wound, it becomes a magnet for anything and everything solid until it completely heals. You lying, Dan.
Oh yeah, that's like anything on your lips, in your mouth. But yeah, any wound in your mouth is gonna be something where you're gonna constantly touch it, mess with it. Yeah. It's like I always feel it and and it hurts. Or anything on your shin, which is for finding objects in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah. Toes.
There was a cut on his thumb, to which Dan said that he had cut it while pushing a cart at his job at the factory. And they asked him what shift he worked. He said the day shift. And they asked him if they called the factory, would he have been there on the day of the attack, as well as the day that the van had been seen at the park before?
Will we see you, Dan? Will we?
Dan had never worked at the factory or anywhere else. He had spent the days where when he was supposedly working at various parks, writing songs, and writing his book.
And apparently attacking women.
Yeah, apparently. Police dug in, and Dan said that he was scared. He said he had made a mistake and admitted to attacking Melissa. He said he just wanted to scare somebody because he had left college and he was unemployed and he couldn't find a job. He said that life scared him and he wasn't good at it. And everybody else was so confident and he just wanted to scare somebody. Aww.
That seems legit. That's what every creepy bum does, right?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is this guy's, this guy's very intelligent. So, his intelligence was well documented. So what was going on? The detectives.
He's a creep. Killing people. That's what's going on.
The the detectives realized that he was a bad guy. Like he has like an evil side of him that came out and had to be satiated. A dark passenger, if you will, which is the name of the song that is our theme music.
Nice.
He said he had chosen Melissa because she was just there. It was totally random. So police began digging into his past, and they found some very interesting things on his computer.
Oh.
He had writings about bondage in the book that he was writing called Red is Red, which I mentioned earlier. His character...
Was he on Collar Me Too?
No. But I don't know, he might have been.
Huh?
Could have been Mr. Handcuff's protege. But
I mean, he strangled him too, right? He was nice.
I wonder if they knew each other. Wouldn't that be something if they did?
Oh wow! This is maybe they played the choking game with one another when they were children.
But his character Jessica was based on Jesse, and his character Dee was based on himself. And that character killed a man by beating him with a pillowcase filled with Legos.
Wow!
You might call that an angry pillowcase.
Could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine torture of stepping on a pillowcase of Legos?
Oof. I gotta admit, that's a very original way to kill somebody in a story. I've never heard that before, and I'm surprised that
with Legos.
Yeah, I'm surprised that some horror movie hasn't borrowed that. I don't know. It might be
well, if they do now, then you need to make sure you trademark that. There is no beating with Legos. There is no Lego torture without our approval.
Yeah. It's probably already in Terrifier 3.
Is it in? Yeah, is it in the? What is it? The Reconciler.
The Reconciler. Jesus Christ.
You two will step on these Legos until you can work out your differences.
Why didn't Saul have that as one of the little things?
Oh, yeah. Like you have to walk across these Legos and dive into a pit of needles and then stick your hands into a meat grinder in order to be free.
He had also looked up many wiki pages of serial killers, and he had Googled how many people these serial killers had killed, and he had listed them, with the most down to the least and everything.
Hopefully no one ever looks at your hard drive.
I was just going to say that. I'm sure I'm on some kind of watch list because of all the things I have to Google for this podcast.
The feds right now are like,
If you think about it, all these true crime podcasts out there, it's like we've all got to be on some sort of a watch list. Like,
they're watching me too. They're probably, because like I said, I mean, I teach, so they're probably out in front of my school, like, chick is crazy. I promise, I'm very sane.
He decided that he wanted to know what killing somebody would be like, and he wanted to become a serial killer. This was all based on his writings. He even kept a journal where these thoughts were documented.
What? And here again, you're saying the stuff you're supposed to keep inside out loud. You don't do that. Inside voice.
I love it when the killer is such a freaking blithering idiot. I mean, it just makes the story that much better, It's the ones that are smart that are actually scary.
Oh yeah, the ones that dodge and evade for years.
Yeah, Dan was smart, but he wasn't criminal smart.
Well, he didn't sound, I mean, that's what's crazy, that he didn't sound like a criminal before. He didn't
Mm-mm.
have like a criminal past or of deviance or anything. The
He's
fact that he's just kind of this straight A musician student or whatever, or this at least this good student who could have gone to college, just all of a sudden woke up and said, I think I want to murder someone today. What,
yeah.
like what the hell? Like that's just weird. I don't know.
Let's see. What am I gonna do today? Wash the car or kill somebody? I think I'll kill somebody and then go play with my awesome punk band, the Angry Pillows.
I feel bad for that band too. They probably can't use that name anymore. Or at least maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they got a new singer.
I would, but he was pretty much the the primary songwriter and everything. So I mean, and why wouldn't he be? He was a musical genius,
Yeah.
But they asked him why he was at the Blodgett house, and he said that Jessie was his friend. And they asked him what had happened to her, and he said that somebody had raped and murdered her.
Mm.
Oops.
Yeah, so someone raped and murdered her. I mean, I think they put a rope around her neck, probably about an inch thick. Probably took at least 20 minutes. Meh. Hear that she has bed linens that are of a mauve color and
with a high thread count.
Egyptian cotton. Yikes.
There was something wrong that Dan had said, and it was the details of the murder. They hadn't been released to anybody. Not even her parents knew that it was a rape yet. And neither did the police. I mean, the autopsy hadn't been done yet, and initially they didn't think that Jessie had been raped. So they noted this, but then continued on with Melissa's attack.
Oh,
Not
dude.
showing. This is just like handcuffs. Them not coming at him with him at the video from the hotel with the two suitcases on the cart. Wisconsin's got some good cops.
Well, what happened to her? She was raped, you say? Was she? Mm, mm. Interesting. How do you know this, Dan?
Well, she was really pretty, so I just assumed that she would have been raped too. He probably did say that. He probably did. No, they didn't come at him with that. I wish they had though. At least it wasn't in any of the source, any of the material that I found.
Right.
I wish they had come at him, but nobody knew that she had been raped except for you. How does that work?
Curious.
So Dan was arrested for the attack on Melissa, and the next day they started interrogating him about Jessie. He said that he hadn't seen her that day. He was at the park reading, and then he went home. And he said
I was at the park thinking of another girl that I was going to scare and attack. Come on.
Yeah. He said that the detective was making him feel uncomfortable because of what he was insinuating.
Mm-hmm. You should feel uncomfortable, dude. You're bad. You should feel bad.
Yeah. They checked the security tape from the park, and Dan did show up there at 10:30, after the time of Jessie's death. So they went through the trash cans there, and they found a cereal box that contained ropes, bloody gloves, and duct tape.
No handcuffs, no ball gags.
No.
Ah.
The tape had fingerprints and hair on it. The blood was Jessie's. The fingerprints, Dan's. The hair, also Jessie's. They also went back and they found a roll of duct tape under the bed that they hadn't seen before when they were there initially. But they found it, and then they retrieved it, and it had fingerprints on it. Also Dan's.
why are you keeping this? Why are you keeping that? Just, again, doesn't make any sense to me that you're keeping stuff that has all this DNA and hair and fingerprints. Why are you, what is it, sentimental value? You keeping it so you can sniff it once in a while, you creep? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you
Yeah.
keeping this?
Oh man, there was this case that we covered really early on. Uh, Cassie Joe Stoddard. Um,
Mm.
the people that the two chuckleheads that killed her, they disposed of their stuff and they tried to burn it, and they tried to use peroxide as an accelerant. peroxide is peroxide, if anything, would put a fire out.
Why won't this light up? Oh,
Like I said,
man.
I love the stupider the more idiotic they are, the better the story.
Oh.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, no. Meanwhile, the town had rallied around the Blodgetts, and lots of money had been raised to donate to charities that the Blodgetts had suggested. One was a middle school's music program, and and also an organization dedicated to stopping violence against women. Also, this is deep right here. The acting troupe that Jessie was in with, they did a special performance of Fiddler on the Roof, obviously with a different person playing Jessie's lead part. But whenever there were solo parts where the fiddler was playing his violin, or whoever's, it doesn't say whether it was a man or a woman, but a lit candle was put on the floor in front of the new lead.
Oh, it's a nice little tribute.
Yeah, I doubt I could have. I couldn't have played that role. I couldn't have done it.
No, that would be very, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, sometimes in the moment
Yeah, you can
you,
compartmentalize and
yeah, you can.
do what you got to
I don't
do.
know. Well, it was funny because, like, for example, weddings. I cry at every wedding I've ever been to. And I thought that I was going to be a hot mess on my wedding, but I wasn't. Like, the only part where I started to cry was when I was giving my vows. One of them was, I'll laugh with you and I'll cry with you. And as I started to say that, I started to cry. So I said, I'll laugh with you and I'll cry with you, but not right now. And and that made me stop. So yeah, I didn't cry during my wedding. And I thought it was going to be a hot mess. But any other wedding, no. Cry, sobbing. I, yeah, I don't know. You do compartmentalize things. You know, at my father's funeral, I gave a reading and I got through it fine. I thought that maybe it would be too much, that I wasn't going to be able to get through it. And no, I got through it and I didn't cry. Cried later, but not then. So I think that's what you just got to do. You just got to
Yeah.
say, I'm doing it for this person and I'm gonna separate myself
Yeah.
inside.
Well, major props to the person who took over that role,
Yeah,
regardless of how they did it. Still, props to you, whoever you are.
yeah.
Soon, the DNA and autopsy results from Jessie and the things that found in the trash can came in, and it proved that not only had Dan killed Jessie, but he had also raped her.
Hmm.
August 11th, 2014, a year later, Dan was put on trial. And before the verdict, Jesse's father, Buck, gave a victim's impact statement, and he actually told Dan that he forgave him. And part of his statement said, Dan, I forgive you as I have every single day. I believe that there's good and bad in each of us, so I don't demonize or vilify you. Buck is a much better man than I am.
Uh, well, and I guess we always say that, or at least what I say in a phrase that I've often heard and try and adhere to is you don't forgive people for them.
Yeah, you
You
do it for
forgive
yourself.
people. for you.
And
And
that's a
that,
lesson
yeah,
that's a lesson I've recently learned myself. So, I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
So that had to be something for his own healing and well-being. He just needed to forgive it so that he could move on.
yeah, but
And
yeah, if you forgive somebody that wrongs you, that doesn't mean that you're going to go out and have a beer with them again.
no, no,
It just means that you're not, letting that grudge and resentment eat away at your soul.
yeah.
I mean, I used to, I used it's hard if I always used to be the type that would kick, it's like I wouldn't carry a grudge, I would nurture it.
Foster it,
Yeah.
water it lovingly every other day.
Hug it and squeeze it and call it George. but, but Dan wasn't as nice. He looked Buck and Joy right, Jesse's parents, dead in the eye, and he said, "Buck, Joy, I can't give you the reasons you're looking for. There's no hiding from yourself in a tiny concrete cell. This jumpsuit that I'm wearing, these shackles, they don't make me guilty. I know there's evidence that I can't refute that would make you believe that I am guilty. I hope eventually you will take the opportunity to hear me out. I want to have a dialogue. I pray for all of you, and I'm sorry for your loss."
What an asshole.
I'd have been over the table. They'd have to hit me in the back with a billy club to keep me away from him.
Well, that's almost like Swango, I'm not going to admit to killing all these other people. I did, but I'm not going to admit it. I'm just going to act like I didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's
It's just the jumpsuits and the shackles don't make it guilty. But he's right though. The fact that his DNA was all over the place, that's what makes you guilty. And even though those good people forgave him, that doesn't mean that they ever want to see you again, let alone sit down with you so that you can lie to their faces and insult their intelligence.
Yeah, I don't want your prayers. I don't want your
Yeah.
don't
He's
want
just a
anything
sick
from you.
He's just a sick fuck, and he only wanted to do that just, for the opportunity to traumatize Jesse's parents even more.
Yeah.
The judge didn't believe him either. I mean, he blasted Dan, and rightfully so. He called him a self-pitying and self-absorbed failure, and then he sentenced him to life without parole.
Well, and I firmly believe that a lot of times when you see these people that are being sentenced, especially for murder, especially for things where there's murder involved, I don't. Oftentimes, I'm like, you don't feel sorry, even if they say they're sorry. Like, you feel sorry for yourself. At
Yeah.
least Dan kind of was able to admit that he felt sorry for himself. But yeah, I always say like they feel sorry they were caught.
Right.
That's how they feel sorry, because if they had any true empathy, they wouldn't have killed somebody.
Right.
How can you be an empathetic person and care and say that uh, are sorry and you feel for people when you're gonna kill them?
Mm-hmm. But to this day, he still swears he's innocent, but DNA doesn't lie. Dan, the man-child, he lies.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who knew Jesse and Dan has to wonder why he chose his best friend to kill. And personally, I think that he just wanted her back, and he got butthurt when she rejected his advances. And that was the spark that ignited the powder keg in his wannabe serial killer brain. Yeah. Made it this far into the episode without getting tongue-tied. Until now.
Until now.
But,
Yeah, I that seems pretty reasonable. And they also say that usually when you're killed by someone, it's not just some random stranger. It's someone you know or your family knows. And yeah, she was a convenient target, able to take out his frustration and anger and what have you on. He knew, and it's probably easier too because he knew her schedule, he knew where she lived, he probably had been in her house a million times,
yeah.
knew everything, where she slept, how to get in. That's it probably made it a lot easier for him to pick her as a target.
True. Now, his charges are a little confusing to me. He faced 4 felony charges in the case. It's 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. And
Hmm.
I looked at several different sources, and they all said the same thing: 2 counts. And I don't get how is there 2 unless because the trial. We're going to find out shortly. The trial consisted. It was both Jessie and Melissa's cases in the same trial,
Mm,
and that was something that the defense attorney was going crazy about, and saying that, oh, they don't have anything to do with each other. It's like, well, they happened within 24 hours of each other,
right.
48 hours or whatever, and it's the same type of thing. So yeah, they absolutely deserve to be. So, but wouldn't one of them be attempted first degree intentional homicide? But I don't know. That's why I was saying that the charges were. I mean, I'm not complaining, but
No.
I'm just saying it was a little confusing to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about law or anything to comment on that front.
But there was also one count of first degree recklessly endangering safety, and 1 count of false imprisonment. That would have been Melissa. Yeah, the case was tried at the same time, like I said. The first intentional homicide was for Jessie, obviously.
Hmm.
Rape, he wasn't charged with rape for some reason, but it didn't matter because he was found guilty on all accounts, and he was sentenced to life with no chance of parole. And the jury only deliberated for 3 hours, and I'm surprised it took that long.
Yeah, here's some duct tape with her hair and her fingerprints and his. Okay, case closed.
Dan's mother, Laura, said after the trial that after he had dropped out of college, he felt like a failure, and he seemed depressed. And his reasoning for dropping out was that, you know, he just didn't like it in college. He moved back in with them in January of 2013 until July, when he killed Jessie and attacked Melissa. But they had told him that if he was going to live with them, he'd have to get a job and pay rent, but he never got a job. um, Now, why it went for so long, January to July, that's a long time. And
Yeah,
even if he said that he got a, he told them that he got the job at the factory. So where's the money? You know.
I don't know. I guess again, I'm not a parent, but I suppose you always want to have the best thoughts and beliefs when it comes to your kid. I mean, know your kid. I mean, all kids do the things that are wrong.
Right.
You can't think your kid's a complete angel, but uh,
No, I don't.
I would assume most. Well, tell her you said that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think parents always want to think the best of their children and defend their children and their decisions to a point. I think that's normal.
Yeah, but I mean, Dan's parents weren't some of these enabling types of parents, like we find in some of these cases, where they swear up and down that their child didn't do it and whatnot. They these people. I mean, after the trial was over, Dan and Jessie's parents they hugged each other. They said that they would pray for each other. And Buck, he said in an interview, he's like, nobody won today. He's like, he's like, our family is crushed. The Bartelts, they're crushed. We both lost a child.
Yeah.
And and I don't know if they are friends now, but I mean, they might be. Who knows? But
It's
they're at least,
possible.
yeah, you know,
I, I mean, at least, yeah, the parents, you can't, if they were parents that you knew did their best, to raise their kid and
like, well, yeah, because Buck, Jesse's father, even said in the same interview. He's just like, like the Bartelts are good people. They gave him a good loving home all his life. We've known the family for years, so they probably are. They probably don't go out every weekend, but I'd
No.
say like a couple months they might meet for dinner or something every couple months or so,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, and like he was saying, I mean, it's generous of him to say we both lost a child. I mean, they did technically. I mean, yeah, Dan's not dead, but may as well be.
Yeah,
If your kid's a murderer and in prison for life, and I guess it must come down to a case of I don't know how they feel about their son, but I guess it could be a case of I still love my child. I don't love what they did.
right.
I can know that they're a monster, but I still love my child. But
Yeah.
yeah.
In April, Dan had told him that he'd gotten the factory job, and he'd even bought work boots and work clothes. And he would leave at 6:30 a.m., come home around 5 p.m. But he had never actually even applied for a job at the factory. um, the Buck and Joy Blodgett founded a nonprofit foundation called the Love Is Greater Than Hate Project.
Mm.
Its mission statement is to end violence against women and to elevate love over hate in this world. Melissa even wrote a piece on that website, and I'll link I'll link to both Melissa and Jessie's pages from the site in the show notes.
Mm.
She said that sitting in that courtroom during Jessie's trial and hearing the forgiveness from Jessie's parents. Hold on, I'm just going to read the quote. Hold on. All right, pull it up there real quick. Says, I will never forget sitting in the courtroom and hearing such compassionate forgiveness. That changed me. And from that changed me. From then on, I've been determined to live through love, which, believe me, can be incredibly difficult. Love is greater than hate has shown me that I can forgive others and that I can even forgive myself. I also learned that you cannot fight fire with fire. In order to see change in our communities, we need to let go and of the fight and teach with love and acceptance. As a community, a civilization, we're only as good as our weakest player. And I want to thank Love Is Greater Than Hate for lifting those players up and being an exceptional example of what love is greater than hate truly looks like.
I mean,
That's
that's really nice. That's more power to them. That's powerful, and they're obviously making the best out of a horrible situation. Um,
yeah.
I got nothing but respect for them. Props to that family for being able to use this to spread some good
Well,
in the world.
I'm sure that Melissa and the Blogettes are I'm sure they're close.
Yeah.
If she's still, maybe she went away, maybe she moved away to college or whatever. But if she's still living there in that town, I bet they hang out a lot.
Hmm.
And it's so weird how, just one day they didn't know each other. The next day they're close like that, because of a
Yeah.
tragedy.
Yeah.
So. Jessie and her family were special people, so really good and really beautiful. Um, they're great people. They're beautiful people. They're really good people. And people are still talking about it.
Wow.
That's just what it made me think of. I just got a news alert that came up. That's what reminded me of that. News alert just popped up on my other screen. Apparently, there was some sort of a gunfight that Trump was close to, and like breaking news type of thing, like just now. So that's where,
there's no commentary for me.
no, I just saw an opportunity to do my Trump voice. How was it, by the way? Was it good?
Sure, we'll go with good. Yeah.
No, we don't do politics on this show. ever.
I don't think I do a good Trump voice, but I do. They were the best people. They
That's
were
a
very good. Everyone knows them in town. It's wonderful. I don't know. I don't think that's a good Trump voice, but
well, you got the cadence right. I haven't done one of my characters yet. I was gonna put one in Bone Breaker, but we'd already recorded that one, so
they have words. They have the best words.
but I do
wonderful word, tremendous, tremendous words.
I have like three different characters, recurring characters that I do. I was gonna do one. I couldn't just drop one into the Bone Breaker episode because we'd have to talk about it a little bit, and that would be a pain. But so I'm like, okay, maybe I could do one for this. It would have been Dick Darwin, and I couldn't come up with anything that Dick Darwin, Dallas Detective, would say about this case. We'll get one. I'm sure the next episode will have a Dick Darwin appearance in it.
All right.
But
I look forward to that.
The next one's probably going to be a 2-part episode, though. But, oh God, where was I before I derailed myself?
You were talking about Melissa and
I know
her.
It was a long paragraph, and I just interrupted myself with my Trump voice. Dan took a truly amazing human out of this world. Someone he was friends with, and he has no remorse for his actions. He swears he's innocent, and Melissa's attack as well. And remember the knife that Melissa took off of him?
Mm-hmm.
She kept it and turned it over to the police, and it, of course, had Dan's fingerprints and Melissa's blood on it, as well as Dan's blood. So, rest in peace, Jessie, and I hope that Melissa is thriving in life. And as for Dan, I do wonder why he, for lack of a better term, turned to the dark side. But he seemed to
cookies.
He seemed to have as much going for him as Jessie did for her, but initially, but we'll never know. But, yes, that's it. That's what I got.
Wait. Hold on. There were more knives than that. There were more knives than that. Hold on. What about his girlfriend? Did we circle back to Allison?
Well, that was when when that knife came out when he tried to make that move on Jessie, and she shot him down, and then went back to Allison. That's when that knife came out.
Did it? Did it really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I am unconvinced that all the knives were actually addressed. I don't remember them all, but I am unconvinced.
Well, they were. I mean,
okay.
every now I usually get to all of them. I don't say pull the knife out at every point, and that would probably get annoying.
You should. Well, at least number the knives. You remember knife number 1? Okay, here it is.
But
in this episode, be remember knife 25. Okay.
I said, in the notes I was writing, up until now, I had been writing, typing out, put a knife in that. But for this one, I got tired of doing it, so I just wrote PAKIT, packet. So packet.
Sounds good.
But still. Yeah, put a knife in Wisconsin, apparently. That's what we're doing.
Cheese.
So yeah, that was a good story, and it didn't go as long as I thought that it would, obviously, but
I mean, if you said what you had to say, I mean.
Yep. I did that And then some.
You did the thing. You did all the things. Covered all the things. Got it.
So, any closing thoughts, or have you already said them?
No, I mean that it is a good story, and it really does get me more interested in the psychological aspect of people like him.
Yeah.
I really do wonder why and what triggered this from someone that you wouldn't think would do it. And it also kind of goes to show that you never really know what's going on in someone else's head. You never really know what someone else is thinking, and that's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah. I'm glad I found this one. I was looking for some. I don't remember what I was looking for, and I just stumbled across this one. I'm just like, hey, that looks good. Oh, look, it's in Wisconsin. So, but all right, I got nothing else. So, want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We hope you've enjoyed it, and like, follow, share, subscribe, comment wherever you can, and that's Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Do everything down below.
Do
Smash that like button, right?
Do all the things, all the great things that just they make the podcast great.
The tremendous things. We have the best podcast, the best one, the biggest podcast. Is no one gets bored at our podcast. No one would leave it. It's the best one.
The best one.
And all the Trump fans just left this. All just went, and I'm not.
Nah. Everybody loves a good impersonation.
Do they? Do they?
I guess we'll find out.
If you're a Trump fan, don't leave. We still want you to listen.
You're great people. Great people.
Listen, below, comment who had the better Trump impression, because I'm really curious. Was it Bill or me?
Or if you think that we both sucked at it, you can tell us that too.
We're both lame. It's true, but we try and be entertaining here.
So, anyway, until next week. Later.
Bye.